When you're making your design, all you need is your plan of how you're transforming your human face into your mask design. These will be my eyes. I'm going to be covering up these eyes because I don't plan on wearing mine. I'm going to be building out a little bit right here by the eye. I'm going to be building up and covering all this up right here. And I'm going to be adding more down here. Building up a little bit right here and right here. And then of course I'm going to be adding a horn. I don't have room for it, but that's okay. I just need to have my basic plan. Let's say I was going to make a cat. I'm not going to be changing the eye. I know that I'd be adding ears. Cats, dogs, bunnies, they all have this similar muzzle area. It just comes out further or is shorter depending on what the animal is. But basically there's a buildup right here and right here. So I'm going to be building up my plaster right there with foil or with just a little bit of plaster, depending how far out I want it to stick. And the nose area is right here. Basically, it's just right here that gets built up and right here on the cheeks to make that mouth. Plaster strips can be cut smaller with mask making scissors so that there's no powder. So it's basically plaster dipped in gauze, and it needs to be completely wet, dipped all the way in the water before I lay it down on the mask. It sticks right to the form, but what's important is every time you lay the strip down, you take time to smooth it out. You can see the difference here of this and that. This will be stronger, look nicer, and be easier to paint. Every time I'm adding plaster to my mask, I want to make sure that I'm slightly overlapping it on some area that I already have down. The first step is to create a strong border so that it can pop off of this thing easily and be stronger. If I'm doing a half mask design, I just need to decide where it's going to go. Generally, they go up over the nose. I like to fold my plaster in half where I know there's going to be an edge so that it's not as jaggedy and it's a little stronger. Slightly overlapping. I could even kind of bend it and fold it over here. And if I don't want it to be angular, I can curve it with my fingers. Laying down the strip, holding it so it doesn't slide around, and smooth it. I want to make sure that it has a nice smooth edge. Anytime I lay something down and I'm not happy with it, I can pick it back up. I can reform it however I want and lay it back down. Once it's wet, use it. If it gets wet and it doesn't get used, it gets wasted. My first layer, I'm not worried about making it perfect. I'm just getting the shape. For a half mask, you want to make sure it's symmetrical. It ends at the same spot. So this one's up higher than that one. Once I've got 2 layers, before I cover my face, I want to attach elastic if I plan on wearing it. I'm going to be tearing 2 pieces of tape, put them aside. I'm not going to be wearing my mask because I'm covering my eyes, but having the elastic is a great way to hang it also. So I'm pressing the tape down all the way so it's completely taped on the hard plaster. Now that the plaster's dry, tape sticks to it. My elastic should line up with the eye part of the form and go in about 1 inch, no more than that. Now that I have the tape there, it's not gonna slide around on me. Make sure that they're even. This one's a little higher. And I'm just gonna cover it with a strip or 2 of plaster. I'm gonna use half strips because I don't need to cover a lot of space. I just wanna make sure my tape's covered. Every time I lay the strip down, I wanna fill in the holes. Any tape that I add to my mask needs to be covered with plaster so that it's strong and that I can paint over it. If I paint on tape without covering it with plaster, the tape's just gonna come right off. So there, I have my elastic attached. Now my goal for step 2 is to cover the entire face. If you wanna go around the eyes, there's several ways you can do it. There's really no right or wrong. You just wanna make sure that you're going right up to the eye form. My first layer, I'm not gonna worry about making perfect. It can be patchy. I just want to make sure that it is covered. Every little bit is covered. So right there, I just kind of wrapped my plaster strip. Now it's going straight across where the eye is. I just want to push it up. So I'm doing the eyes first. I'm just using small pieces because it's a little easier for me to use smaller pieces for this first layer to go around the eye. If you're starting to not be able to see your eye, take a paper towel and dry that area so that you can push around where the plaster is. I cut my strip into 4 pieces. I like to fold it here on the edge of the eye so that it isn't as jaggedy when it dries. So right here, I can see that it's going to be not very smooth. So I'm gonna take another piece of plaster, fold it, put it across where the eye is. Also, while it's drying, you can kind of see where you need to fix it or change its shape a little bit. For the nose and the mouth too, I'm taking the time to really make sure I'm smoothing the plaster out and it's all the way pressed down so that I can get as much of the feature as I can if I want to keep the human face visible. So I'm cutting pieces the size I need to cut them. I don't have to use the full strip size that's in my container here. Layer number 1 is done.